I stand in the kitchen, the echoes of laughter and clinking glasses from hours ago, still clinging to the air like stubborn smoke. The scent of roasted turkey and cinnamon lingers faintly, even though the dishes are cleared and the last crumbs of pumpkin pie have disappeared down my family's throats. I press my forehead against the cool granite countertop, my breath shallow and tight, and let the silence of the empty apartment press back at me. The city hums faintly outside my window, a distant drone of tires on wet asphalt, the faint whistle of a late train. But inside, it's a different kind of quiet, heavy, judging, accusing. My phone buzzes on the marble beside me. I pick it up reluctantly, fingers sticky with pie glaze. It's a message from Dad. Elizabeth, you really should reconsider that new decor choice. It's not practical. I'm worried you're throwing money away again. I drop the phone back onto the countertop like it's hot, a shiver running down my spine. I've heard this tone 100 times before, threaded through every compliment that was never really a compliment, every gathering that ended with a sigh of disappointment. I remember the first time I opened my door to them, to my parents and Kate and Joshua, a family visit that should have been warm but never was. The door had swung wide, and there they were, jackets shedding snow, eyes scanning my apartment as if evaluating whether I was worthy of inhabiting it. "Nice place," Mom said, and I thought I'd heard a note of approval. But then she frowned. Too minimalist. Feels cold. Maybe add more warmth. And Dad, always Dad, leaned back in my IKEA dining chair and muttered, "You know, Elizabeth, furniture should be functional. Not just pretty, not just aspirational." I'd forced a smile, felt my cheeks tighten, my throat dry. Kate flopped onto my couch, arms spread wide, and sighed. "You have so much space for yourself. Must be nice. Must be nice to just have it all." Her tone wasn't envy exactly. It was more like irritation that I dared to carve out a life independent of theirs. Joshua, meanwhile, was scrolling through his phone, occasionally glancing up to toss casual critiques. "You still paying off that loan for the car?" His smirk was infuriating. $45,000 is a lot. "Liz, maybe you should rethink your priorities." Priorities. The word reverberated in my skull, a hammer on glass. Every payment I made, every extra $1,000 I sent to cover their bills, their sudden emergencies, their unfortunate mishaps, was always labeled as mismanaged, overgenerous, naive. And yet, when they called with a problem, I never hesitated. I gave. I gave because I believed, stupidly, that family meant reciprocity. That love wasn't a ledger, but a living thing, a breath, a pulse. The gnawing started in small increments. $2,500 for Mom's car repairs, $2,500 for Joshua's tuition top-up, a $5,000 loan I would never see returned. And every time, their words were wrapped in gratitude, but underneath something sharper, a suggestion that I owed them more than affection, more than attention, more than respect, that I owed them money, that my life, my accomplishments, my success, my BMW, my apartment in Manhattan, everything I had was never enough, never truly mine. I walk slowly to the window and push aside the velvet curtain, letting the cold New York night spill over my palms. The wind smells like wet asphalt and gasoline, tinged with a hint of winter smoke. I watch the city lights shimmer, reflections broken in the puddles along the sidewalk. I inhale sharply, feeling the weight of the past months pressing against my ribcage. I remember a Thanksgiving not long ago. The table had been a battlefield in disguise, cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, laughter, and sarcasm intertwined like threads in a tightrope. "Elizabeth, why don't you contribute a little more to the decorations?" Mom had asked, voice deceptively sweet, eyes narrowing just enough to cut. "I did all the work," I said quietly, hoping to end it there, hoping my voice didn't shake. "I paid for the centerpiece, the linens." She didn't listen. "It's not about paying, it's about thoughtfulness. You've got money, Liz. Why aren't you more considerate?" And Dad had leaned back, adjusting his tie, watching me like a scientist observing a fragile specimen. "Your sister and brother, they struggle more than you. Maybe help them. Don't always put yourself first. Always me, responsible, accountable, eternally indebted to their whims." I step back from the window, pressing my palms to my eyes, trying to suppress the sting of tears. I feel anger rise, thick and hot, crawling from my stomach up through my throat. I imagine a life where I didn't have to answer to them, where I didn't have to measure every breath, every dollar, every choice against the bar of their approval. I make a decision that night, not loud, not triumphant, not yet, but firm. I will stop. No more payments, no more loans, No more bending myself into an outline that fits their desires. I'll reclaim my money, my time, my space. I'll stop sacrificing for people who see my generosity as a given, as expected, as obligatory. Weeks later, I pack. My BMW is loaded with boxes labeled with neat architectural precision. Sketchbooks, reference books, my laptop, a few sentimental objects I can't bear to leave behind. A photo of Mom and Dad when I was 8, Kate's old scrapbook, Joshua's first bike helmet. I drive west, past the flat gray stretch of Pennsylvania, across Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, the horizon widening, the air feeling cleaner, sharper, freer with every mile. By the time I arrive in Oregon, nestled in a small, secluded cabin in the pines, I can feel the tension unraveling from my shoulders. The smell of damp earth, pine needles, and crisp air fills my lungs in a way the city never could. I open the cabin windows and let the wind sweep through the empty rooms, whispering possibilities, whispering freedom. I begin to draw again, lines, shapes, structures that are entirely mine. I don't consult anyone, don't ask for approval. My hands move with the fluidity of someone rediscovering themselves, each stroke a reclaiming of authority, a declaration of independence. When I walk outside, barefoot in the moss, I feel the ground beneath me like a solid promise. This is mine. I am mine. Months later, a call from Dad comes. Liz, we need you to reconsider the payments. Things are tight. Kate's rent, Joshua's. I let him finish. Then, in the calmest voice I've ever spoken with, I say, I'm sorry, Dad. I can't. I won't. I need to live my life. I've already given enough. Silence. A pause thick with unspoken frustration and disbelief. I love you, I add gently, because I do. But love is no longer a transaction. A year passes. I wake to the sound of birds and the wind in the pines, sunlight spilling across unfinished sketches. I drive my Tesla along the winding roads, stop to photograph a ridge at sunset, feeling a thrill of possibility that has nothing to do with family expectation. I send a small exhibition of my architectural designs to a gallery in Santa Fe. My dream project, I feel grounded, alive, whole. Family? They exist, but on new terms. I answer when I choose, contribute when I feel. My boundaries are respected, or at least tested, and I hold firm. The freedom, the space, the dignity, the quiet triumph of living for myself. This is my gift to myself. I've survived the weight of their neediness, the sting of their criticism, and emerged not broken, but gloriously, fiercely intact. And as the last light of sunset filters through the pine boughs, I breathe deeply, fully, finally, mine. Mornings in Oregon are nothing like New York. The light filters through the pine needles in slanting beams, warm and golden, dust motes floating in lazy spirals. I wake before sunrise most days, the mattress firm under me, sheets crisp and cool. My body stretches instinctively, a sigh of relief escaping my lungs. I'm not running late, not dodging traffic, not carrying the weight of someone else's disappointment. The cabin creaks, the wind hums through the trees, and for the first time in years, I feel the kind of quiet that isn't accusing, isn't pressing. I make coffee, my fingers tracing the smooth ceramic mug, the warmth seeping into my hands. Steam curls upward, carrying the rich scent of roasted beans into my nose. I take a slow sip, savoring it, letting the bitterness linger, letting the calm seep into my chest. The kitchen is small but efficient. Whitewashed counters, a rustic wooden table, a single vase with fresh wildflowers I picked along the trail. Everything has a place, and everything feels mine. My sketchbooks sit open on the table, edges curling slightly, pages filled with concepts I had been too scared to explore back in New York. I trace a pencil along a line, imagining how light would hit a cantilevered structure, how shadows would play across a glass facade. My hands move deliberately, confidently. No one watches, no one judges, no one asks for more than I can give. The cabin is silent, except for my breathing, the scratch of pencil on paper, the occasional rustle of leaves outside. Some days I hike up the ridge behind the cabin, boots crunching over moss and fallen needles, wind tugging at my hair. I pause to take in the view, rolling hills, a river winding lazily through the valley, mountains in the distance like sentinels. And I think I could have stayed anywhere, lived for anyone, tried to meet impossible expectations, but I chose this. I chose me. I hear the phone buzzing on the counter, but I ignore it at first. It's a message from Mom. Liz, we really need to talk about the car payment and Joshua's tuition. I let my fingers hover over the screen, then swipe to silence. Another buzz comes. A call from Kate, her voice sharp even through the speaker. Are you serious, Liz? You can't just... I drop the phone into the drawer. My heartbeat hammers in my chest, a familiar surge of guilt threatening to rise, but I breathe through it, in and out, slow and controlled. I'm done giving out of fear or obligation. I am done sacrificing my happiness so that others can remain comfortable at my expense. I step outside, the cool air filling my lungs, and let the sound of the forest drown out the voices I used to carry around inside me like chains. The first major confrontation comes weeks later. Dad shows up unexpectedly, sleeves rolled, eyes sharp. Liz, he says, voice calm but firm, this isn't fair. You can't just walk away from responsibilities. I stand tall in the doorway, sun streaming over my shoulder. I smell the pine and hear the distant call of a hawk. I feel my spine straighten. I'm not walking away. I say evenly, I'm living my life. I've given enough. I will not continue to fund your lifestyle or anyone else's at the cost of my own peace. I've paid, I've sacrificed. That's over. He frowns, shifting weight from foot to foot. You think this is easy for us? I never said it was, I reply, tone soft but unyielding. It's not easy for me either, but this is necessary. For me. Weeks turn into months. I start taking commissions for architectural designs remotely. I work from the cabin, the wind brushing against my cheeks, the sunlight spilling across my drafts. Each completed project a small victory, a claim staked in a life I built for myself. I experiment with local materials, design small cabins for vacationers, remodel spaces with a touch that feels personal and alive. I am present, fully in a way I never could have been before, tethered to anyone but myself. Evenings are the sweetest. I cook simple meals, sometimes catching a trout from the river, seasoning it with fresh herbs from the small garden I planted behind the cabin. The sizzle of fish in the pan, the smell of garlic and thyme, the golden light falling across the floorboards. These are my moments of quiet triumph. No one criticizes the dishes I make. No one judges the way I fold laundry or arrange the furniture. It's just me and the wind and the wild. I sometimes open letters from New York. Bills, yes, but also invitations, congratulations from distant clients, and occasional messages from Kate. Her words have softened. There is an acknowledgement of boundaries, tentative but present. I reply carefully, cautiously, because I can. I'm not forced, not trapped. The hardest realization is that some relationships cannot survive without balance. Some love is transactional, and that love I once mistook for care was often a demand. I mourn that quietly, privately, and then I let it go. I stand on the porch some evenings, watching the sun melt into the horizon, wind in my hair, and I think, finally, it's just me, and that is enough. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, the fear fades. The tension in my shoulders, the tightness in my chest, the silent questioning of my own worth, they all relax. I am not just surviving, I am thriving. I am building, creating, existing in a space that belongs entirely to me. And that more than any payment or approval, more than any loan or favor, is freedom. It was late afternoon when the first real test came. A knock at the cabin door, sharp and insistent, reverberating through the quiet that had become my sanctuary. I open it to find Dad standing there, coat dusted with pine needles, eyes cold but glinting with expectation. Behind him, Kate and Joshua shuffle awkwardly, unsure, hesitant. Elizabeth, Dad begins, voice carefully controlled, we need to talk. About the payments, about the loans, about everything. I take a slow breath, feeling the forest press in around me, the wind teasing the hem of my sweater. My hands are steady at my sides. I've already explained. I say quietly, I can't continue. I won't. I've given enough. Kate steps forward, brow furrowed. But Liz, don't you see? We're struggling. We need you. Mom, and you and Dad, I interrupt gently, have been struggling for years, and I've been carrying it all. That ends now. I'm not responsible for your finances. I'm not responsible for your happiness. I am responsible for me. And right now, I need my life, my space, my freedom. Joshua's face tightens. You're selfish, he spits, and for a moment I feel the old pang of guilt. Years of internalized blame, of hearing their words echo in my mind, but I don't move back. I don't shrink. I hold their gaze, steady, unwavering. I'm not selfish, I say, voice firm, calm. I'm human, and humans have limits. I reached mine years ago. Dad exhales, a slow, measured sound. So, what? You just cut us off? Just leave us to... I am not leaving you, I say. I am setting boundaries. You can survive without me controlling every aspect of your lives. You can ask, and I may choose to help, but it will never again be a demand. It will never again be at the cost of my own well-being. Kate looks at me, a flicker of confusion, maybe recognition in her eyes. But why now? Because now I finally see that I'm worth more than the sum of your debts and your expectations. I answer, because I've spent my life bending, giving, sacrificing, and every time it wasn't enough. So I stopped. I chose me. The silence that follows is heavy, almost tangible. The wind stirs in the pines, carrying away the tension in slow, deliberate gusts. I watch them absorb my words, watch the realization dawn that their entitlement ends here. They leave that evening, reluctantly, arguments and protests hanging unspoken in the doorway. I close the door, lock it, and lean against the wood, exhaling fully for the first time in years. My chest feels lighter, my shoulders relax, and the wind seems to carry a new kind of promise. A promise of self-possession, of autonomy, of life reclaimed. Weeks later, I start preparing for a longer journey, Santa Fe. A project opportunity comes my way, a chance to lead a design initiative that is entirely mine, and I seize it. I pack the Tesla. Careful this time, minimal, deliberate, each item a testament to my new life. Sketchbooks, personal mementos, a small collection of favorite kitchenware, a photo of the cabin and the forest for memory. Driving west, the mountains rise ahead, sharp and golden in the afternoon sun. The wind carries scents of desert sage and earth, different from the pine and damp of Oregon. Each mile brings anticipation, freedom, and a thrill of creative possibility. In Santa Fe, I find a small, sun-drenched apartment. Terracotta floors, exposed wooden beams, a balcony looking out over red rock formations. I set up my workspace with precision. My drafting table near the window, supplies neatly arranged, plants thriving in sunlight. It's my life, my rules, my domain. Clients arrive, emails ping, calls come in, this time for work I want to do, designs I want to create, not to patch holes in someone else's life. I feel the joy of creation, unburdened, unpressured. I explore the city, the markets, the adobe streets, savoring the smells of fresh tortillas and roasted chilies. The world feels vast, and I am part of it, fully, intentionally, deliberately. Once a message from Kate comes, "Liz, can we visit? Talk?" I pause, fingers hovering over the keyboard. I type carefully, thoughtfully. "I'm happy to see you, Kate, on the condition that we respect each other's lives and boundaries. That's how it works now. I'm building a life here. Please respect it." The reply is hesitant but cordial. It's progress, tentative, but it's something. A recognition that relationships can exist without domination, without constant taking, without the erasure of my needs. I sit on the balcony some evenings sketching, letting the desert wind brush my hair, sipping coffee as the sun dips behind the mesas. I am calm, content, alive. I breathe deeply, fully, completely, and know that I have survived, endured, and claimed my life. I have been used, and I have been taken for granted, but now, finally, I am free. Freedom tastes like sunlight on adobe, like the clean air of pine forest behind me, like the first sip of coffee in the quiet of a morning that belongs entirely to me. I smile because it is mine, all mine. And for the first time, truly, that is enough. A year has passed since I arrived in Santa Fe. The apartment, once bare, is now a reflection of me. Warm adobe tones softened by textiles from local markets, shelves lined with sketches, books, and small sculptures I've collected on hikes and trips. The sunlight streams through the large windows in the mornings, painting the terracotta floors gold. I wake naturally, no alarm, no schedule dictated by anyone else, only by the rhythm of my own life. I pour coffee into my favorite mug, steam rising in lazy curls. Outside, the wind carries the scent of desert sage and sun-baked earth, the occasional call of a distant hawk. I sip slowly, feeling the warmth spread through me. My Tesla is parked out front, ready for errands, meetings, or spontaneous adventures, but I feel no rush. Time is mine. Work is fulfilling. My design projects are fully my own. I lead a team remotely, mentor younger architects, and finally create spaces that breathe, that tell stories, that feel alive. Clients appreciate not only the technical skill, but the soul I pour into every line, every structure. I spend afternoons sketching on the balcony, letting the sun brush my hair and the wind tug at my pencil, feeling completely alive in a way that was impossible under my family's shadow. Some days, I hike the red rock trails, boots crunching on sand and stone, sun warming my shoulders. I pause to look at the horizon, the mesas glowing like molten gold in the late afternoon light, and I think of the long journey that brought me here, the loans I'd paid, the sacrifices I'd made, the suffocating weight of expectation I'd finally shaken off. I smile because it's all mine now. Every choice, every breath, every victory belongs to me. Occasionally, I receive messages from my family. Mom sends photos of her garden. Kate updates me on her new apartment. Joshua's tuition is finally sorted out without my interference. I respond carefully, politely, but always with boundaries firmly in place. When Dad calls, I answer selectively. If the conversation drifts toward guilt or demand, I redirect. I've learned to love from a distance when love at close range means losing myself. One afternoon, Kate comes to visit. She's hesitant at first, standing on the sunlit balcony, glancing at the sketches scattered around. "Liz, it's amazing here," she says quietly. I nod, gesturing toward the desert vista. "It's my space, Kate. I hope you can respect that." She hesitates, then smiles, almost shyly. "I think I'm starting to understand. You've really built something for yourself." "Yes," I reply, voice soft but firm, "and I want you to build your own life too, not live through mine." The conversation is tentative but honest. For the first time, there is no judgment, no criticism, no expectation that I must sacrifice myself for their comfort. It is a moment of fragile understanding, and I let it be enough. Evenings are my sanctuary. I cook simple meals, experimenting with local ingredients: green chilies, roasted squash, fresh bread. The kitchen is warm, filled with smells that are mine alone. I eat slowly, savoring each bite, watching the sun sink behind the mesas, painting the sky in fiery oranges and purples. The quiet hum of the city below, the distant ringing of a church bell, the occasional bark of a dog, all of it feels like a gentle symphony that I orchestrate for myself. I work late sometimes, sketches and models spread across the table. My fingers trace lines with certainty, correcting, refining, creating. Each project is a testament to the autonomy I fought so hard to claim. Every building I design, every space I shape is a declaration. I am here. I exist. I matter. I exist. And at night, when I finally step onto the balcony, wrapped in a wool blanket, the desert wind tugging at my hair, I breathe deeply. The fear that once gripped my chest, the guilt that once twisted my stomach, the exhaustion from endless giving, they are all gone, replaced by a steady calm, a deep, unshakable knowing that I am enough. Freedom tastes like the crisp desert air, the warm sun on my shoulders, the gentle brush of wind across the balcony. It feels like the quiet joy of drawing lines that belong to me, of sleeping in a bed I chose, of living a life I sculpted with my own hands. It is the culmination of every hard decision, every tear shed, every dollar withheld from demands that weren't mine to bear. Sometimes I think of New York, of the apartment I left behind, of the family I love but cannot let dictate my life. I'm no longer afraid. I'm no longer indebted emotionally or financially. I carry them in my heart, yes, but I do not carry their burdens. I have finally learned that self-preservation is not selfish. It is survival. It is life. And as I watch the stars emerge over the mesas, each one a tiny spark against the infinite sky, I whisper to myself, softly, almost reverently, I am free. I am whole. I am Elizabeth. And finally, truly, that is enough.